This particular week, for the discussion, they talk about polymorphism. And they talk about what's the joy of the design patterns. So let's see the exact questions they have here. It says, you can't really see my screen. So it basically says polymorphism is one of the more important characteristics in Java. On page 658, the text states, the term polymorphism means the ability to make many forms in Java. In Java, a reference variable is polymorphic because it can reference objects of types different from its own, as long as those types are subclass of its type. For discussion, you're asked to do research on design pattern using polymorphism with object-oriented programming. Briefly describe the design pattern. Provide an example how the design pattern could be used. Explain why polymorphism is essential to that design pattern. Okay. I'll let you worry about the design patterns, and I'll let you worry about the way the question's asked, and all those different things. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a very, very simple polymorphic program, look at it, and give you an idea what it means. The idea behind polymorphism is that you have functions, methods, whatever, that are named the same, but dependent upon how it's called, it will do things differently. Like it'll call, for instance, it'll call the same method, which in our case is here, add. But if it's sent with a certain parameter or a certain set of parameters, it'll call a certain add method. And if it's sent with a certain different number of parameters, it'll call that method instead. So what it is it's named the same, called the same, but you have a different set of what it does, different results. Let's say, for instance, dog. Your dog is Ralph. Ralph the dog. Every time you call Ralph the dog, you stand outside your house and you Ralph, and Ralph the dog comes, because don't ask me why I've named the dog Ralph, but the dog is Ralph. So Ralph the dog comes. Now, there's that particular element. Now let's take it and let's look at the idea of, I'm going to go to, if Ralph the dog is a method, and when you call Ralph the dog, there's two things. There's the name Ralph, and there's a second, which is location, right? Okay. You have two different implementations of calling dog. The first implementation just has a dog name, and it uses a default location of your home. The second implementation of calling the dog, you feed it the dog's name, but it also has a location. So if I call Ralph out in my house, Ralph the dog comes. But if I call Ralph the dog in different cities, because that's a different location, it's calling different implementations of that particular method, because now we're dealing with a location, different implementation of that method, because now we're dealing with a location, and the Ralph the dog you get might be different, right? But it's still literally calling Ralph the dog. So if I look at this function over here, it's called function add, right? And function add takes in an x and a y that are both integers. It adds them together, x and y, right? 1 plus 2, or whatever values there are. Now, there's function add right here that takes s and t, both as strings, and returns a string. Notice x and y takes an integer and returns an integer. S and t takes a string, returns a string. Notice what it does is it concatenates or adds the two strings together to make one word, right? So now let's go and look at our main program. The first main part of the program, right line, add 1, 2. Well, 1 and 2 are integers. So of the choices of add, it knows that the first one is x and y, which is integers. So as a result, it returns 3. Hey, awesome, print 3, done. Now if I look at this hello world, right line add hello world, prints hello world. Okay, so add s and t, which are strings, concatenates together, s and t, right, string, awesome. I get hello world. So what happens is, depending upon the values that it's sent, if it's sent with integers, it calls this function up here, add, that has integers. If it's sent with hello world, which are strings, it calls this function with strings right here. So it's polymorphic depending upon the values that are sent. It's called it has the same name, which is add, but what's sent to it changes. As a result, what it does changes. So I hope that kind of helps you as you go through some of your discussion. Kind of keep that in mind. And I look forward to seeing what you have to do for this week or what you come up with. Thank you.